It is a time of desolation. The evening of the year 2022 is upon us. We stand in the shadows of two titans, Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok, slugging it out for the title of Game of the Year. It was to be the year of Sonic. The beaming blue blur has careened onto the silver screen, and to Switch and Steam, with releases new and re-releases a few. But with his father behind bars, the arrival of rival film trailers, and developer reputations and fan patience both running thin, is Sonic hero enough to save his own franchise and video gaming as we know it? Sonic is back. Hello, friends, and welcome to the NintenGems podcast, the Nintendo podcast where we talk about video games both new and old. My name is Connor, and today I am joined with the ever lovely brother and co-host,
Brayden. Hello.
Hello, Brayden. How's it going?
I'm pretty good. It's nice to be back. We always take a nice little healthy break between episodes these days, but yeah, it's good to sit down with you.
Yeah, it's important to stay rested for months at a time.
Yeah,
before recording.
But we're here with a hot topic.
Oh yes,
as our announcer said, our intro.
Yeah, that was
commentator.
Nice. That was crazy. That who was that? We've got a big one today for sure, and it's Sonic Frontiers.
We've all been talking about it. We've all been dying to see what it's about.
And it's important to acknowledge it up front because we want to get in... I want to get into a little bit of... There's a lot of build-up for this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of context that can be addressed around it, even like pretty modern, current context, you know.
Both pre-release and post-release of Sonic Frontiers, there's just a lot of... the stakes are pretty high for this game right now in December of 2022 at this point. But I guess to start at the beginning of 2022, to me, personally, this was always meant to be the year of... It really was, I know it was a joke in the intro, but like the year of Sonic, kind of.
In what way? What all were you looking forward to?
We got the sequel to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Of course.
Which was, I'm pretty sure critically and definitely fan-wise way more well-received than the first one. And commercially. Commercially, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at my retail store that I work at, we sell, like, Sonic party supplies now. And, you know what I mean? He has his own, like, little toy section. Mm-hmm. You know, he's hit the big time for sure.
By all margins, the Sonic the Hedgehog, the sequel that came out earlier this year, movie, was a huge success.
Right.
And then, for the fans, in summer, we got Sonic Origins.
Yep.
Which was an interesting release. I wanted to cover it for the show at the time, but I still haven't gotten around to properly giving it time.
Okay, gotcha.
But it has a lot of issues.
And what kind of Sonic game is it?
It's a re-release. It's a packaged re-release of Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's right.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and CD. And it was intended to be like a definitive version of all of them. Like they did the thing. There's a lot to get into with it, truly. Mm-hmm. They essentially rebuilt the game from the ground up. It's not emulated. They built it.
Got it.
And it's the first time that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 has ever been re-released in like 15 years.
Sure.
And they kind of messed it up too, still.
Well, that's kind of what I don't know. I remember now that you have reminded me what exactly it is. I remember seeing lots of memes, especially about like Sonic Mega Collection and Sonic Gems Collection. You know what I mean? I've been playing these games, for free.
Right.
And then I remember seeing, like, I think they removed all the individual Sonic games from, like, several marketplaces. So
that's
that
correct.
You had to buy Origins.
Yeah, this was meant to be, like, the definitive, now, like, canonized version of these games.
Yeah.
And still, there were things that were kind of messed up or falsely promised or underutilized. And, like, post-release, the development studio that they commissioned, that they, like, had on board to do it, even, like... publicly stated some complications and were like, we're sorry it ended up this way.
Dang.
So that was kind of like one strike against Sega as a publisher.
Uh-huh.
Not the talent of Sonic Team or... I forget the development studio that did Sonic Origins. But it's not Sega internally. It's like another studio.
Okay.
But it was a strike against Sega as a publisher for like applying pressure and kind of rushing this development studio. Because it can... be pretty well correlated to Sonic Frontiers' development and its announcement. When
was that? Was that E3?
Man, that's actually a good question now that I think about it. I know it was this year. No, maybe it wasn't. I actually don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was announced, but I do remember talking about it a lot with friends and with you. And
I remember some of the early trailers too, and just how, I guess, it looks similar-ish, but they definitely like rolled out some world design features and stuff as the trailers went on. But
sure, there was one initial teaser trailer that just like kind of showed Sonic running through the woods away from like the robots that are in the game.
Yeah.
And with the tease that it was going to be an open world Sonic game, and that was kind of it. That might have been E3 this year or last year. But the important trailer was the one that had the contemplative piano music, the towers,
yep,
the ancient future technology,
yes,
all of the...
When we learned what the game was going to really look like.
And that game was going to be Sonic Breath of the Wild.
Yes. Down to, yeah, like you said, the theming of the ancient future technology type world that, it presents as very mysterious, but of course there's a deeper meaning to all of it. And yeah.
And the music, they really made Sonic the Hedgehog contemplative and slow.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow, they're really not being subtle about it. It's one thing to make the natural kind of conclusion that eventually Sonic is going to go open world. Mm-hmm. But, and like even Dark Souls, Elden Ring is Dark Souls open world.
Sure.
It's got some Breath of the Wild isms in there, It definitely took influence, but it's not plagiaristic in any sense.
Right.
And then Sonic just is like, okay. What worked in Breath of the Wild? They had towers. They had this ancient future civilization that had like cool technology, and it's like all glowy lines and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be some weird sentry robots too that follow the same theme. The music.
Yeah.
It should not be high energy guitar music that Sonic is known for. It should be slow, ambient, contemplative piano ballads. I mean, when that was all we knew about it, it's kind of how I felt for the Mario movie. It's like there's so much space for it to either like after like they announced the Mario movie cast, there's so much space for it to be perfect, but there's so much equal amount of space for it to just be like absolutely disastrous.
Yeah,
there's so many good ideas and bad ideas at hand here that like it can go either way.
Tangent, you seen the newest trailer?
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
Dude, Charlie Day is amazing.
Yeah.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie, I mean, it's getting a lot more hype than the Sonic movies themselves did.
Sure.
I don't know. I liked the Sonic sequel movie plenty enough, even though I do think it was bad. I liked it, and I had a good time. I think it's like not a great movie.
Sure.
But it was successful, against all odds.
Right,
I think that'll make the third one pretty interesting.
But
it might be eclipsed by the Super Mario movie.
Right. It looks like it's going to be pretty decent.
The theme of the intro to this episode was that the year of Sonic has been like slightly squandered. The Sonic movie 2 was successful, but in my opinion, as a fan, not amazing, not a good movie, even though it had some like Sonic fan service. Sonic Origins kind of botched release, like to the point that I was so excited for it beforehand, and to this day I still haven't played it just because like the way it was released makes me not want to. They changed the music.
Really?
To me, that changes everything.
Like they reorchestrated it, or like they said, "Nah, this music doesn't fit this level anymore. Let's just change it."
Legal issues.
No
way. The whole Michael Jackson thing. I'm telling you.
No way.
This will be
I saw memes about that too.
Yeah.
I get my news in the format of memes apparently. But
big changes. Big mistakes.
Uh-huh.
When you're launching this definitive edition of the classic Sonic games, this is where you start with Sonic. If you are playing Sonic games, you start at these games and messing that up, pretty major.
Yeah.
And to get the show on the road, do we think they botched Sonic Breath of the Wild? Sonic Frontiers. Sonic Frontiers, our perception of the game has shifted, I think, a lot since those initial, like, it's just Sonic Breath of the Wild days. But clearly it is Sonic, but make it open world, which hasn't been done before.
Sure, and...
How do we feel about that? How do we feel about how they executed this?
It is one messy jungle out there of so many different strange choices that they have thrown together. Into this jungle gym, almost.
Yeah. It's in more ways than just like those Breath of the Wild thematic elements. Like it's a jumble of so many different already pre-established gaming mechanics, concepts, systems. Yeah. It's an uneven tapestry of like collectibles and upgrade trees and unlockable skills and techniques that don't do anything, and all that just like piled on top of the 3D Sonic gameplay that we've already had that has been established for a decade.
Right.
You know, it's the same when we talked about this off the mic a little bit, but was it a shock to play the new 3D Sonic gameplay style?
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest example that we kind of talked about was like the dash. You know, you just can boost forward.
Boost is
okay.
The boost meter. The boost gauge.
There you go. But I mean, is even the gauge has been around for several games, or just the ability to kind of like boost dash, kind of like I was saying, and you rush forward a good distance usually, carrying your momentum and speed.
I mean, perhaps that's something we should have prefaced the whole conversation with is, I mean, I consider myself a Sonic superfan. You are also generally a fan of Sonic.
Absolutely.
But neither of us have done a super swell job of keeping up with Sonic for the past, conveniently, decade or so.
Right. In particular, like the 3D Sonic games. I do feel like, I mean, we both played Sonic Mania, and loved it. Yeah, I feel like I go back and play or touch on more 2D Sonic. It's just easier to pop in and out of a little bit.
Totally. I am... Before the Switch, like, I don't know, when we were playing games on the TV, I mean, I would pop in Sonic Mega Collection, and there was a DS collection of the original 3.
Sure. That
I had, like, I've played through Sonic 3 and Knuckles. You know, you can breeze through that in just a few hours. Like, that's like an afternoon.
Right.
So many times.
And then, of course, I do have probably less 3D Sonic experience than you in general, but still significant experience. Just
totally
playing all the different games for the GameCube, Sonic Adventure, DX, 2 Battle. I mean, I played some Heroes and Riders.
Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh my god.
Oh, baby.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man.
And so, I don't know. I do feel qualified enough to know where it's come from, but games like Forces and Unleashed, and even 06, like I've played 06 a little bit and Unleashed a little bit, but anything in between there that I'm probably even forgetting, you know what I mean? I own Colors, but I couldn't stand it for the Switch because it was so broken. But anyway, yeah, you certainly are knowledge-wise. I would say you are the bigger Sonic fan, and just you've he's spent more time in your brain than mine.
Yes, that is definitely true. And I can't speak for experience. I don't know. That's not even necessarily how I would classify myself as the bigger Sonic fan. I just think I was always way more into it.
Yeah.
Like I was way more like obsessed with it as a kid. Like he was my favorite game character for a long time, and I think yours was always like Link or whatever.
Right.
Like I just like have a biased, subjective love for Sonic as a franchise. But we're in very similar boats in that my experience with all the new entries for the past like decade and a half has been relatively minimal. I think I've played a little bit more than you probably.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever like after Sonic 06, there was Sonic Unleashed, which we have and I played at the time but never finished. There was Sonic Colors, which was same deal. I started it and never finished it.
Yeah.
There was a few of the like Sonic and the Black Knight and Sonic and the Secret Rings, like weird Wii exclusive offshoots that are
Don't we own secret rings?
Yeah.
Because I can almost like picture a level or two out of that. Wasn't that a almost Temple Run style, mostly runner?
It's almost. It's one of those things where the reason I'm listing the games partially is because there's a solid through line. Even though the 3D Sonic gameplay for Sonic Frontiers is completely different from what we are used to, like, over a decade ago, which is it's Sonic Adventure 2. We love Sonic Adventure 2. That's our Sonic game.
Oh, absolutely.
And the GameCube ones after that used mostly the same sort of mechanics. But that's what to us is what 3D Sonic feels like. It's Sonic Adventure. Let's just be honest.
Yep.
But Sonic Frontiers feels a lot different than that. But if you you can track the changes, it is not. Yeah, the newer 3D Sonic games are kind of classified as the boost Sonic games because they emphasize that. The building blocks have been piling on towards that direction for a long time.
Yeah, and that is getting back to like the point of, well, we were talking about the boost before we got too sentimental there. But
and why getting into this game might have felt weird or clunky or jarring.
Yeah.
Getting into like 3D Sonic, but it feels completely different now.
Well, and I think then I asked you, like, are the combos, you know what I mean? Are those like repeat? And like, just what else have I missed in the meantime? I wonder. But yeah, it didn't take super long to catch on, and a lot of the mechanics feel similar to Sonic Adventure 2. There's a hell of a lot of rail grinding, and I'm sure that's carried through plenty of games.
I don't know. I'm not afraid to say it was jarring.
Yeah.
It was a lot to get used to. When you start up the game, it asks you if you want to do one of two different control modes.
Well, I don't recall the control modes, but like, I mean, you definitely have to like choose your speed. I mean, there's 3 speed options, I believe. I might be just thinking of the difficulty there for 3 options, but it says, what kind of gameplay do you want? Are you used to Sonic game speed, or
that? Yeah, that's what I'm. That setting is what I was getting at, but I couldn't remember. But it did specify weird parameters, but it was there were 2 of settings, and they were: are you new to Sonic, or have you been playing Sonic for a long time?
Yeah.
But I think choosing the more experienced one, the second one, it means have you been playing the boost games?
Oh.
That's how I interpreted it, at least, because that's what made it harder to play for me. I felt like it made me think how much more I might have enjoyed it had I played on the easy, like
if
the
it
easy
auto
control.
boosted for you or something.
Maybe, I don't know. Did you do the experience one as
well?
Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
And because in my interpretation of it, and I feel like this was close to what the text said, but was just, are you used to the speed of Sonic games or something like that?
Interesting. I don't remember exactly how I verbalized it, but maybe we interpreted it differently or something.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, again, I didn't know the boost existed until I started the game.
Sure.
And so, I didn't have that context at the time.
But there was also a difficulty setting. There were 3 difficulty settings: easy, medium, and hard. Besides one huge, big difference that I've just discovered minutes before recording, I really don't know what the different difficulty settings determine, because we've kind of relayed that we had similar experiences with any sort of challenge, like the combat was generally the same level of difficulty.
If anything, like the 2 things that I can think of would be how many rings you lose when you get hit, maybe. I could never quite figure out the ratio there.
Yeah, me neither.
And then also just how damage spongy the enemies are, essentially. I feel like that has got to be the main
that's what I figured,
kicker of the difficulty.
Well, everything in me was assuming the most pedantic sort of artificial difficulty thing. Like, make the enemies spongier and hit harder on hard as opposed to easy.
Right.
But after learning about the big, huge, mega difference, I'm kind of rethinking. I'm wondering how.
Can we pause?
What did you have to look up?
So, I challenged Connor on the fact that there's like a true ending to this game if you choose the hard difficulty. And because, I don't know,
You played it on normal and I played it on hard.
Yeah.
And we were trying to corroborate our experiences and they didn't line, and they did line up. You thought, I don't know.
I think I have fake memories of it because like it is so familiar to other portions of the game that like I've already gone through.
Yeah. We don't want to spoil anything yet.
Yeah.
But yes, there the difficulties. Maybe the enemies have more health. Maybe you do less damage. Whatever it is, the main difference is that the ending is completely the gameplay of the ending is completely different. There's an extra final boss.
Sure.
The ending is not different, but the final boss is different.
Yes.
And I had a much harder time than Brayden did.
Just for what it's worth, I don't know if this is worth keeping in if you're embarrassed, but I played on the Switch. You played on the PS4.
Of course we can keep this in. This was intentional.
I know.
To prepare for our discussion, because we will get into the hardware issues as well that this game faced. I mean, we could start with it if we want.
But otherwise, we started the game relatively close together and had mostly similar experiences.
Yeah, I would say so. You finished a little bit before I did. How was it playing it on like the go?
So
make any difference? Because it felt like a pretty console-esque game to me.
More so than, say, even Pokemon, what I'm playing right now. Hey, episode coming up. Check it out. Subscribe. But it was a game I kind of do wish I'd played more on the TV screen. And that's just really not something I do most of the time anymore. I'm almost exclusively portable mode. Right. Unless there's like friends over and we're like playing, you know what I mean, playing co-op or something, like it stays in my hands. And I would be interested to see some just if any of the plethora of performance issues were resolved. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just, because there were so many at
I can't imagine between TV mode and portable mode. I mean, between our versions probably, but I don't think it would have looked much better on the Switch on the TV versus on the Switch itself.
Right. I don't know. It just, every turn of the camera, every angle change, just affected the minute-to-minute gameplay, like...
Yeah, of course. I mean, here we are getting into it. This game is ambitious in a lot of ways.
That's nice of you to say.
I'm starting by being kind to this game, I guess. It's very Sonic. The equation that should have been the first thing that Sonic Team, the developers, thought of was, in terms of making the game run on hardware well, optimized, perform well, as a video game, is open world plus moving as fast as Sonic equals, how do we render that?
You're right, yeah, equals...
Breath of the Wild...
could have a problem.
It's crazy that Breath of the Wild had whatever problems this was solved 6 years ago on this very same console.
Sure.
I mean, the fastest that game got was like the Master Cycle or whatever.
Yeah.
But, it never let you go... I don't know. Even at the fastest you were going... It still had a way to render everything in the vista equally and properly at all times. So that the illusion of it being a game that has to like optimize graphics and like run on hardware while not making it catch on fire happened. And Sonic Frontiers did not solve that 5 years later. Sonic moves too fast for the game to render objects properly.
Right.
And the game is filled with objects.
Shoot, it is littered with crap.
These vast open vistas that you get to sprint across 100 miles an hour as Sonic.
Which feels right.
Which feels just fine. Until you run into an object that just materialized in front of your face because the game hadn't loaded it yet.
Yep.
And the open vistas are littered with objects like that.
Even just rocks. Not all of them are like...
Rocks bring you momentum to an absolute... There is no momentum.
Yeah.
You are just running and then you're not.
Which seems strange for a game that...
emphasizes and prioritizes speed so much.
And ground movement. They really did just put a lot of junk that you'll smack into. Or bounce off of if you catch that little performance issue just right. It'll send you flying off into space for a second. The
game is glitchy. And it's really glitchy. It's a very glitchy game on both platforms.
Yeah.
There is still plenty of object pop-in on the PlayStation 4 version. I don't know if it's more than the Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like you said...
I would assume not, but...
Really?
I mean, I don't know, just the way the Switch runs and its power versus the PlayStation's, I figure they would have gotten that a little more right, but...
Sure. I don't know. It's hard to say. I did see another one of those Twitter videos where a guy just, like, uncapped the amount of objects that could be rendered. And he was playing it on, like, PC or whatever, but it just, like, made it so that every object that exists is rendered at once. Mm-hmm. And it was performing fine. There was no performance issues. And that it was like the Switch version that ultimately universally kind of kneecapped the performance of all of the versions. The PlayStation 5 version,
sure.
that should never have pop-in because it has that solid state drive in there, baby.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, interesting that they're still struggling with this developmentally. It's interesting about the speed and about Sonic and the way he handles. I've talked about it about Elden Ring before, and I think it made it into our discussion on the show as well, but about traversal and like a proper traversal mechanic.
Yeah.
To like distinguish itself.
Sure.
And how Breath of the Wild nailed that with its environments, because the way the paraglider made you rethink how you traverse an environment completely.
Yeah.
And Elden Ring was sort of missing that in terms of its open world. It had a huge, interesting open world, but the way
that you wanted to walk through.
Yeah, but there was only one way to walk through it. You know, Sonic only has one way to go through anywhere.
Yeah.
You can only run. I don't know. I don't think Sonic feels very good to control in this open world. With these modern Sonic mechanics, the boost mechanics and such, I think sometimes it feels fine, but it makes me really sad how herky-jerky it is. It's all very stop and start. It looks fluid when it looks really fluid when it's being played well, and that's part of it. Is like, you know, you get the ranks in the levels.
Yeah.
It's a score based thing. You know, like the better you perform, the easier the game gets to play. You know?
Yeah.
The more you familiarize yourself with the mechanics, that's all well and good. Mm-hmm. But to me, it just doesn't, especially compared to where Sonic has been in the past and how the 2D games work themselves, there's just no physics to anything.
Yeah.
There's no momentum.
Much. Well, it's interesting. I feel like they try and build that into... there's so many little shortcuts. And they're not even shortcuts. They are... the rails that lead to a collectible that you need or a key that you need or something, but they're generally a series of rails and springs or platforms that you kind of have to run through, and that feels good to land quickly, you know what I mean? And sometimes the camera will shift, and so like you kind of go into a 2D perspective, and you build momentum there, but the problem is you're stopping every couple seconds to do another one of those. I don't even know what to call them. Like, just the rails for collectibles.
Little obstacle courses?
Yeah, I guess.
What I've heard them referred to as. I don't know. Little mini... we gotta reel back a little bit.
Yeah, we need to establish like what the game, the world looks like.
Yeah, the systems, the grand like game mechanics and systems at place are so convoluted, and like we were saying, there's just like a bunch of gaming conventions just kind of like piled on top of Sonic that it's like it's hard to know exactly where to start. It's because it also takes an influence. All those gaming conventions come from somewhere, and in addition to the obvious Breath of the Wild influence, which was on its face, you know, months and months ago before release.
Yeah.
After playing it, there's a lot of Super Mario Odyssey.
Sure.
There's a lot of Metal Gear Rising.
Cool.
There's a lot of Shadow of the Colossus in there. Like, something that we've talked about, again, off mic, in our pre-recording conversations, is just how little innovative or actually new there is. It's mostly just like Sonic, but with a bunch of other games ideas piled on top. There's nothing completely new or fresh or innovative. In my opinion, it's a little harsh.
Well, and I mean, it's hard to tell because all of those different ideas that, yes, are taken from other games, they're Sonic colored now. You know what I mean? They're Sonic flavored now.
Sonic colors.
And yeah, I didn't like that. And so, like, it's hard to tell, is this something new, or is this, pirated from...
Some things are way more Sonic flavored than others.
Yeah.
So since before the game came out, and we've gotten more ideas on what this game was going to be, and the creators... Wow. We haven't touched on Yuji Naka at all!
We skipped him!
Oh, man. Here's one more brief tangent. Just one more. Before I get serious about what the game is. The creator of Sonic the Hedgehog just got arrested for several billion yen of insider trading this year, like weeks ago, as of this recording.
And mere weeks after the release of the game as well.
Yes, after Sonic Frontiers. And is in prison in Japan. Yuji Naka. So... Yeah, the year of Sonic has really not panned out super optimistically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It has nothing to do with Sonic Frontiers directly, necessarily. Other than I don't know, maybe he was siphoning money from the project or something.
Sure,
whatever.
Yeah.
Something internal that we'll never know. But just food for thought. Just
Fun facts with Connor.
Fun facts with Sonic.
Yeah.
Additional context. But as I was saying, since before the game's released, and they were asking interview questions about the game, there was this quote thrown around a lot that said the game was open zone. It's not an open world game, it's an open zone game. And this game has 5 open zones. That is pretty correct. I would say it's halfway between Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey.
Right.
In that there's 5 kingdoms. There's 5 different overworlds. But each overworld... Called islands.
In-game.
Yes. Sonic and his friends have traveled to the Starfall Islands, and there are 5 islands that you get to explore through the game. And they're all very big. They're huge.
Yeah.
They're not Mario Odyssey-sized kingdoms. They're kind of chunks of Breath of the Wild style.
Yeah.
Exploration vistas, little miniature open worlds,
and I mean they are again pretty big, and a lot of times they don't feel as big because you're Sonic and you move across them so quickly. But yeah, they're various sizes and shapes, which can make traversal miserable.
Certainly, some of them have a lot of dead space
and
bottomless pits,
cliffs that you can't get up if you fall down, and you have to go all the way back around,
and not a ton of run around space.
Yeah.
The islands come with varying degrees of quality, but you do progress through the list of islands in a linear order. It's not like you choose each zone, open zone,
right.
But within each island, starting with the first one, Kronos Island, correct?
That sounds right.
Each island has a number of objectives and bonuses kind of sprinkled all throughout, but the main progression consists of collecting each of the 7 Chaos Emeralds on each island.
Yep.
You start at one point, and you have to collect...
all 7.
Yeah.
And they transport themselves to the next island, essentially, by the time you're done.
Once you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you fight the island's boss, and then you progress to the next island.
Yes.
And there's just a whole... The reason I'm kind of, jittery in my words is because I'm making sure I'm not skipping something, but I'm skipping There's so much noise in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
On each island, there are usually, around 6 portals.
Yep.
Right? And so
I would say 6 to even, I don't know, maybe 10.
And these, right, yeah, well, maybe some of them did. 6 to 10-ish portals on each island, and these portals are miniature levels.
Yes.
Miniature conventional 3D Sonic levels. They're linear races, where you complete like a linear level, grinding, running, jumping, collecting rings, the normal Sonic fare, to a goal point. And then you get ranked for that level based on how you perform. Timing, rings collected, stuff like that.
Well said.
And so far so good?
You got around that pretty cleanly.
And each island has several of these levels.
Yes.
And these levels you can complete in any order.
Depending on what order you find the towers in that contain these cyberspace levels.
They're called cyberspace portals. They take you to cyberspace. Sonic gets like phased into them. They're essentially this game's version of Breath of the Wild's shrines or Mario Odyssey's like bonus levels, like where you ditch your hat and you do a platforming challenge. That kind of thing. Just like separate linear challenges. You have to complete these portal levels to unlock the Chaos Emeralds.
Yes.
Is the reason you have to play these levels.
Yes. And it's not like it's a 1-for-1 exchange either.
Yes.
You receive a form of currency, essentially, by completing these levels that you then spend to unlock the Chaos Emeralds at various other points on the map.
Right. It's each level has 4 goals. One of them is get like the S rank time.
Yep. Each
level has a certain amount of red coins or whatever that you can collect. If you collect all the red coins, you get a key.
Yep.
Each level has 4 keys and 4 goals to unlock those keys, and you need a certain amount of keys to open the Chaos Emerald, the gates,
barriers, force field,
yeah. So far so good, and the Chaos Emerald gates unlock consecutively, progressively. Like there were times when I would come out of a portal and have unlocked 2 Chaos Emerald gates because I'd gotten 4 keys and I needed, more than, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then like maybe it was like 2 keys and then 2 keys and then it would show me the cutscene of 2 Chaos Emeralds opening.
Yeah, they didn't need that cutscene.
They didn't.
that cutscene, like,
again, a lot of noise.
The cutscene is muddling our conversation about the Chaos Emeralds.
Because there's just so many steps. And this is still in broad strokes. There are about to be even more steps. Because sometimes the progression of your Chaos Emeralds gets interrupted by you having to talk to a character.
Yes. It's everyone's favorite Sonic characters on each of the islands.
Mm-hmm. Starting at the beginning, like each of the 5 islands, kind of, with exception.
Yeah.
The rule being, each of the 5 islands has a different character that's like trapped there, that you are... They're like Sonic's friends are trapped in cyberspace themselves.
Yes.
But they can kind of phase into the island and communicate with Sonic. Like in the first island, Kronos Island, Amy is there and is like walking around, but is like a cyber digitized version of herself. And she's like, I can't feel anything.
Bro, but before she even talks, you have to unlock a certain amount of the character tokens to get them out of that portal ball. I know. We can get to it. But I mean, those character tokens?
Memory tokens, Brayden.
Character gems. Character gems.
So
that's the first thing you do. I'm pretty sure.
Before a Chaos Emerald?
Oh yeah, you have to talk to Amy before anything happens. You know what I mean? It says collect 7
Maybe that's why it confused me so much from the get-go.
And then you have to go find these random little obstacle course rail things that I was talking about that shoot you off up into the sky, and there's a gem, there's a memory token up there. And so you got your first memory token, and then you do a few more obstacle courses, and you talk to Amy, free her from the bondages of cyberspace, and then you can go start hunting for Chaos Emeralds. But then if you want to talk to her again later on, you have to spend more character tokens.
Right.
Memory tokens.
What Brayden's saying is correct.
I
conventionally, where it fits into the structure of the game at large.
Yeah.
Conventionally.
Yeah. Bring me back.
Yeah. You're collecting the Chaos Emeralds in an order, but occasionally it will interrupt that your Chaos Emerald collecting instead of your objective being collect the Chaos Emerald or collect keys for the Chaos Emerald, it will say talk to character. Amy is on the first island. Knuckles is on the second island. Story spoilers, etc. And you have to unlock, and you have to talk to that character. And usually that character will be at like the site of the next Chaos Emerald. But in order to talk to that character and progress the game, you will have to collect their memory tokens, which is another collectible. There's a lot of collectathon elements in this game, a lot of collectibles, and it can get really confusing. We're still painting in broad strokes here. You have to collect that character's memory tokens, and you collect those tokens by doing what Braden was describing, which is, and what we were kind of describing earlier, which are these obstacle courses that are just kind of sprinkled throughout the open world, the islands, out in the open.
Yeah.
Just rails and bumpers and springs and platforms just kind of randomly...
Usually heading vertically to some... They're typically in the air.
Sure.
To some degree, and a lot of times you'll have to climb up a little bit.
They're just floating level geometry, just kind of like on the island for no real reason. And that's a lot of the stuff that has the problem with pop-in too. Is like there's just so much stuff just like floating everywhere, and the game has trouble rendering it. But typically at the end of each of these little obstacle courses, you get a memory token. And once you collect enough memory tokens, you can talk to the character, and Sonic will have like a little dialogue scene with Knuckles or Tails or Amy or whoever. And once you do that, you can progress the story. What happens with the progression, though, is you have to do those mini games, dude. You have to do the Coco mini games.
Right. But that's typically to acquire a Chaos Emerald, right?
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah. Sometimes you'll have to talk to the character to trigger a mission.
Yeah.
A little mini game, and you complete the mini game and you collect a Chaos Emerald. So you have to do those. Do we get into the Coco now? Yeah,
the Coco Korok Chow combination.
Man, they're Koroks.
Yeah.
They're this... It's just another one of
pretty
those...
shameless.
Extremely
Pretty shameless on that front.
You collect these little creatures called Coco, and they're just like these little tiny stone golem things that are cutesy.
But very cute.
Very cutesy. Extremely cutesy. But they bear a striking resemblance to Koroks from Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
It's pretty absurd. And you find them very randomly. They're just kind of scattered around... at points of interest on the map, usually.
Yeah.
They're just kind of walking around, and you run into them and pick them up. And you collect them. They're more of a supplementary collectible, because you collect them to trade to a Coco Elder? There's a Coco...
there's Elder Coco, and there's...
a Hermit Coco.
That's right.
I
couldn't tell you which one did what.
Me neither. There's two special elder characters you can talk to, and you can for one of them you can trade the Coco the lost Coco that you have collected, in order to... They're the ring one, right?
Yeah. You can increase your ring capacity or your speed limit, essentially.
Right. Yeah, you can
max speed.
Return the Coco, the lost Coco you have collected, to the Elder or the Hermit or whatever to raise your maximum ring capacity as you collect rings. And for those, the uninitiated, rings are your health in Sonic games.
Yes.
Or you can increase your top speed. There's RPG elements in this game. You can increase your levels. Oh man! And then you can increase your ring level and your speed. You can also increase your attack and defense.
Yes.
You do this. Oh, and there's portal gears, dude, too.
Oh my god!
You have to get portal gears to open the portals. I forgot.
There are so many little tiny shiny objects that you have to collect in order to progress to do the next thing.
It's true. The portals that I've been talking about that you get the keys from, you have to collect portal gears to even open those portals. And you get the portal gears by defeating bosses in the overworld. There are
Not even bosses. Like, sometimes they're just, like, boring enemies, dude.
I guess that's true, too. But also, there's the other challenges, too. You know, the ones that unlock the map.
Yeah.
There's so much. There are boss enemies walking around the map, right? Uh-huh. This much is true. Each island has its own set of unique boss enemies that are roaming the map.
Yeah.
Some of them cool to varying degrees. Some of them very annoying to varying degrees. But you collect portal gears by defeating these bosses. That's their main function. Yep. Besides being there and having to be Breath of the Wild, the boss enemies are there to guard the portal gears.
Yes.
That's the point. That's what they tried, at least. And then, what?
I was just going to talk about, like, the enemies real quick. Like, mechanically, some of them are fun, and they cover the range of, like, Sonic's movement capabilities, you know what I mean? Like,
are you talking about regular enemies or, like, the boss fights?
Both, because the point that I'm going to make is, like, they all look very similar. Like, the color, like, I know they're robots, you know, and ancient robots at that, you know what I mean? Or something. Right. Digital, cyber, ancient robots.
I mean, they're doing the Sheikah technology, you know.
Yeah. It just would have been cool. I just imagine creative, like, colorful Sonic enemies roaming this map instead of, like, these ugly, dull, gray...
Eggman badniks, you know?
Yeah, totally. It could have been different, surely.
But that's just another thing that they, like... That it feels like was copied from another game's paper, whether it's the Sheikah technology in Breath of the Wild or, like, the nature of the Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus. You know, just some, like... I don't know. Something that stands out because it's ancient instead of it, like, actually fitting in with the franchise up to that point is mostly what I'm saying.
Sorry, I got us off track.
No,
about
totally.
The portal gears.
Well, no. I mean, the field bosses and the field enemies are, I guess, as good a transition as any to talk about the combat, which is new to this game.
Sure.
That's maybe even the more ambitious part than the open world stuff for 3D Sonic games is this, like, very Platinum Games-esque combat system. It's very kind of like... It's very Bayonetta. It's very Devil May Cry.
Sure.
Light, I would say. It's a very shallow version of combat systems that have worked and been successful and challenging and engaging.
Mm-hmm. You unlock these skill points by defeating enemies. If you do tricks in the air, you get a little bit of experience points, and maybe even completing, like, objectives. I'm not sure. They come very easily.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's new for Sonic to have a skill tree in this game, too. Yeah. Like, he has a skill tree with upgradable, like, an upgrade path. You can level him up.
That you spend these skill points on.
Yeah.
And so you won't unlock his whole combo tree immediately, but you work your way down, and then it does split once, I think. Right. You know, which
almost as good as Sekiro's skill tree. The fact that it branches, that's so Sekiro. You can clearly see the Sekiro influence.
Yes.
But yeah, and most of this skill tree, this upgrade tree, they're all new combat combos for the most part. And the combat, I mean, that's really what it is. It's Devil May Cry, Bayonetta light. It's beat 'em up combat, but with any sort of strategy or technique or, like, skill involved left extremely nebulous. Yeah. It's got the whole 9 yards. It's got, like, your attack button. It's got a combo meter. It's got your dodge roll. Sonic has a dodge roll. It's got a parry with a counterattack. You know, where you time your parry with the enemy, like, when the enemy hits you. I don't know. It's very interesting, and it's got all of these skills that you unlock on the skill tree have really different flavored attacks. They all have different visual flair.
They're very flashy.
They're very fun. Yeah, very flashy, and they feel cool to do. But it's really tough to tell if they do more damage to an enemy than the other. The timing is
I found the timing to be very wonky as well.
Yes.
Like,
They all
it's
have-
hard to know when a move is ending to start a new one, and sometimes they'll cut each other off. If you, like, press a different button mid-combo, it'll just, like, launch into the new button.
And not in a way that doesn't feel like it's on purpose.
Right.
It's not like Street Fighter combos.
Yeah.
It's like, it just is interrupting something you're in the middle of, and sometimes the enemy doesn't care. Like, all these skills that you unlock have cool animations, and they feel different.
Mm-hmm.
But usually the enemy can just kind of hit you through them.
Yes.
It feel with it being tough to tell what combo attack is doing more damage than another.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it feel like there's one unlockable ability that you like press B after you attack, and you do a stomp attack from above.
Right.
There's one upgrade skill technique, whatever, that allows you to attack from afar, so that if you're next to it, you won't, and it's launching an attack, you won't get damaged.
Mm-hmm.
They all have different flavors of maneuverability to them that makes it feel like you're meant to employ different skills against different enemy attacks.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the enemy that's like attacking in front of you, you want to use the stomp attack and get the drop on them from above.
Get over them.
Like in a Paper Mario sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't jump on the enemy with spikes on its head. And you don't attack with your hammer from in front with the enemy that has spikes on its front.
Uh-huh.
However, it does not work like that in Sonic Frontiers. It just like is random and doesn't seem to make a difference. The enemy, like the boss enemies especially, do not feel like they're designed to interact with your own moveset.
No, yeah, they aren't responsive at all to being hit, or they're very statue-esque and
stationary
and pretty damage spongy to a degree.
When you're playing on hard mode, extremely damage spongy.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from me. I don't know how it ended up being for you, but for me, it would end up being a race. If you end up landing up to 30 hits, I think, in your combo, you activate Phantom Rush.
Sure.
And for me, it was just a race to activate Phantom Rush as soon as possible, because then you can just kind of mash the square button until the thing is dead. Is that what you did too?
I never quite got Phantom Rush down. Like, I saw it unlock sometimes, but it was never a like combo I initiated, I don't think. And at some point, we haven't said this yet, but at some point I turned auto combat on.
Oh, me too. That's another weird thing about the combat, is that you can unlock on this.
That's crazy.
It's a skill tree thing.
Yeah, isn't it like the last one?
No, it is to the side. It is a branch.
Okay, got it.
It's a non-essential branch. You don't have to buy it to unlock other skills. But yeah, one of the unlockable skills, some way into the skill tree, is an auto combat option where you can just you can just mash the attack button and it will automatically initiate different combos.
Yeah.
And again,
at the cost of reduced damage.
Is that right?
Those combos do less damage than if you initiate them yourself.
That is interesting. That does lend an interesting strategy. I mean, I will say, you employed auto combat?
I did, but then I still would end up button mashing, and at some point I did like learn, okay, this one's going to send me up into the air, or the air stomp.
I just relied on the auto combat just because none of the other combos made sense to manually employ to me. And you would think with the auto combat on that it would employ the move that makes the most sense against what the enemy is doing.
Right.
It did not.
No.
I would regularly get hit in the middle of whatever animation that I was doing. That it decided was the best skill to employ.
Or was just next on the wheel.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, however it decided what to do. All that to say, combat's a mess. Combat is truly an underdeveloped mess. Ambitious, again.
Sure.
Especially for Sonic, and especially how much care parts of it were given. Like you said, a lot of the field bosses have creative designs. Some of the regular enemies, well, I get a lot of the bosses have interesting mechanics surrounding them, and then once you get, it's kind of like a Zelda boss. Like once you figure out the puzzle, then you get to like wail on it with your sword a little bit. Exactly. Same with Sonic. Once you do like the Sonic like platforming challenge that the boss employs, which are usually cool and creative. Once you get to the wailing on it part, it's just like, well, now I'm just like smashing X,
right?
And I can still get hit for some reason.
Yeah. There were just, and I mean, like, there were so many different moves that, it kind of made it feel a little arbitrary, like, why...
And just more noise.
Why do I have so much variety? Like...
It felt cluttered. And you don't want... It's a nice thought to have, like, a wide, creative, like, arsenal of moves to select from, but, like, too much and too complicated, and it just, like, makes it feel muddied. Yeah. You know? Just too much. Let's see. Portal Gears, Coco. Oh. The two... So going back to the list of collectibles that we're on, you get the Portal Gears from these boss fights, right? And you get skill pieces to unlock the skill tree.
The attack and defense?
Yeah. And those... So, I guess this is the final... variety of challenge there is presented in the overworld. The last like point of interest that is present.
We didn't really discuss the map beacons. I don't know if
that's what these are. That's what I'm getting to.
Oh,
this is I'm leading up into the last one.
I don't feel like we ever quite. I feel like somehow we leapt off. We leapt off right before we said it, but like there are tiny little attack crystals and defense crystals that you collect also from enemies on occasion, or you kind of dig them up with this fancy little move Sonic has.
You get them the most from the map challenges.
From like the obstacle thingies?
No, from the ones that unlock the map.
Oh, right.
You remember you do the little overworld challenges and then it shows you the seed. That's where I started getting my first ones at least.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
That's what explained it to me.
Right. The camera little...
Yeah, like shows
the camera literally moves over to
show you the seed.
Yeah. That's always right next to you, so it doesn't matter. Like, I was actually impressed by how close they managed to place it at the end of those map challenges.
I definitely missed a few because it didn't... It's so silly and so stupid and so arbitrary, but... Okay, from the beginning, the overworld, the final, like... kind of set of challenges there are in the overworld to go over. There's the bosses, there's the portals, there's the obstacle courses, but there's also these little map challenges that appear as beacons in the overworld with like a question mark, like a point of interest, like solve a puzzle here or whatever. And usually there's some... We'll get into it in a second, but they're just really arbitrary, silly, stupid challenges. But once you complete them, you... unlock part of the map, and you unlock a seed of power or a seed of defense. And that's correct?
Yep.
A red seed or a blue seed. And these are how you upgrade your attack or defense.
Yes.
You take them to the Coco Hermit, and you exchange those for attack boost or defense boost, respectively.
Yes.
You can also earn these seeds from, completing the obstacle courses, or from digging them up or whatever, like Braden was saying. But mostly it's through the map challenges, right?
I would say that's the most consistent method, yes.
Yeah. However, like, I guess I'll do the seed thing first, because the camera, like it shows you the camera. I could never tell where they were. The camera angle was so weird and random every time.
Yes.
From respective to whatever position I completed the challenge at. It was like, okay, now over here is the seed.
Right.
And I was like, where?
That's interesting, because by the end of the game, my consensus was, like, yes, the camera angle was pointless. Like, that did not help. But I was always impressed, like, oh, they knew where I was going to end this challenge. And it was
the bare minimum?
And it was pretty close. You know what I mean? I could generally find it pretty quickly.
Why don't they just give it to you? Why don't they just... Why is it a collectible that you have to take to another place? Why don't they just increase your attack or your defense?
Just absorb them.
Oh, man.
The Hermit Coco and the Elder Coco are pointless fixtures on the map.
Well, not...
I mean, not pointless because they upgrade your crap.
But also they serve as fast travel. once you. But okay. Before that.
By the way, there is no fast travel.
There is no Well, Sonic is fast.
Oh, wow.
There is no fast travel. That is correct. These open zones are very big and very open, and sometimes getting across them is extremely elaborate. It's not a matter of just like bombing down a hill as Sonic and like getting there.
Yeah.
It's like a very elaborate series of steps and platforming challenges to get across the map for no reason. And there's no fast travel. And okay. So backing up to the overworld challenges that unlock parts of the map, I have to address this.
Yeah, you hate this so much, and I love it.
I feel like I've been.
I don't love what Sonic Frontiers did. I love that you hate it so much.
I feel like I've been pretty neutral and maybe even patient with this game in discussion so far. Relative to how I actually feel about it. The one thing that I have truly loathed about this game, in this open world game, this open zone game, this Breath of the Wild clone, Super Mario Odyssey clone, is how you unlock the map. Like the visual map. Like, in any video game now.
Yeah, let alone open world.
Yeah, let alone open world. You press select and you can see the map. An overhead map,
Yeah.
Of the world that you are in. And the way that this game unlocks that is so silly. And so ill thought that it baffles me. And I can't believe it didn't affect you as much as it did to me. It made me so mad immediately. It soured me on this game. In addition to the bevy of buffeting collectibles that it just throws at you at the top of the game with the seeds and the gears and the everything. Once I completed that first challenge and it unlocked a part of the map that I was not in, I got so upset. I don't know.
How do you break it down? So the map is in a grid.
Yeah, it's in a grid
formation.
And conventionally, like the Ubisoft model is for this kind of game is like you go up into a tower or a high point of interest, something that attracts your attention naturally on the landscape, and you get all the way up it and at the
look around.
Yeah, and that's how you unlock a part of the overhead map on your like select screen that was initially invisible or obscured or that you hadn't explored yet is now visible. So now you can see where you can explore.
Yeah.
Sonic Frontiers does not play by that very sensible rule. Whenever you complete these like several dozen per island challenges, it unlocks a very, very small portion of the map at a time, a few pieces of the grid.
Yeah.
Almost randomly, that it doesn't even show you, it doesn't even reveal the part of the map that you're on all the time.
Right.
So you're just like still in obscurity. You're still like, wait, where am I? How do I get to where? Did you notice that there's no compass?
I don't know if I did.
Oh man. This game's a mess, dude.
Yeah.
It's got an overhead map. It's got north, south, east, west.
Sure.
But the radial, like...
scope thingy?
Yeah, it's the compass, the thing that shows you your objectives in the main game.
Oh, that, got it, yeah.
Does not have north, east, west, and south.
Interesting.
So, like, I had a really hard time figuring out what direction I was going.
Yeah.
Navigation is a huge problem in this game. For many reasons, and that's one of them. And so is unlocking the map. That really pissed me off so bad, as I was already like booting up the game and being like, how does this game work?
Yeah.
And I thought the one thing I could rely on was like, okay, I gotta unlock the map and then I'll know where I'm going. And that did not happen immediately. And I was like, oh,
one thing that I discovered and just leaned on, which I think was my crutch to get through how janky the mechanic was that it guaranteed when you beat a map challenge and unlocked a new portion of the map, it always showed you, it always unlocked a quadrant of the grid that had a new map icon on it. So if you headed for that map, you know what I mean?
But I'm not heading, like, yeah?
I would go on tangents where I would just want to unlock the map, you know what I mean? And just, like, try and make it more clear where I was going.
To me,
and so I would just follow the trail of map icons.
That's fair. Maybe that is, like, the natural progression that I wanted you to do. But it also, like, felt like it was competing with getting the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, 100%.
Because that's what I ended up doing. I never fully completed any of the maps myself. I think the one I got highest was the first one, Kronos Island, and I got, like, 96% or something. But, yeah, I much, especially, worth noting, considering the quality of challenge that these things entail... The overworld challenges that you complete in order to unlock the map are just boring and lame and unchallenging and
repetitive,
pointless. Truly, just like some of the most filler gameplay.
Some of them are little puzzles on the floor where you have to jump on different lights. Some of them you have to punch a ball through a hoop.
That might be the one that, like, employed the core Sonic game mechanics, like, the most well.
Yeah.
Is the one where you have to homing attack into the ball, into the hoop.
It's
like, oh, there's a little bit of, like, I'm playing as Sonic in this.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, like, deal 200 damage in 30 seconds. Or...
And then you deal 5,000
in
that same 30 seconds.
In 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Or, like... the light puzzles, like the laser, like, mirror.
Ooh, that lighting. Was terrible.
Just, like, weird Zelda puzzle. Like, truly, like, they were shrines.
Yeah.
Though it's just like you're doing shrines in Zelda, as if you were doing shrines to unlock the map.
Oh, but so
much more shallow and pedantic and
not even challenging 95% of the time.
No.
Just work.
Yeah, they're just obligatory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all this to say, there's a lot that's filling out this world. You know, this open world that you're running around in. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see.
A lot of the doing feels the same at the end of the day.
It does. It's very samey. Even
very
those
much checklist.
Extremely, because you're just collecting meaningless. Like, you're getting portal gears to unlock the portals. Why not just, like, have the portals be unlocked so I can visit the levels? You're unlocking
portal gears to get keys, to get Chaos Emeralds. Don't
forget the memory tokens.
Yeah, memory tokens.
And then the Coca. The moment. There's one more collectible. And the moment that I knew that this game was just plagiarism the game, the collectible that I saw is the purple coins.
Yes.
You know, we've got the portal gears, emerald keys,
the
memory
tokens,
the seeds of power, seeds of defense. You know, there's a lot of, like, XY, like adjective noun. Like, this object is for this objective, you know? But then there's one collectible. There's one kind of collectible, the purple coin, that they could have made anything else other than exactly what is in Super Mario Odyssey. You know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You collect purple coins in the same way that you do in Super Mario Odyssey.
And
why are they coins and why are they purple?
Yes.
Make them any other color and any other object. Don't be so blatant with it.
Well, and so they serve a very specific purpose.
A very superfluous purpose. A very, like...
But, and in that vein, they could have been purple fishing hooks. They could have been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Anything. But you collect purple coins in the overworld. These are collectibles that are also just kind of, like, out in the open to collect, like rings.
Yes.
But they're usually in like little bunches of 3 or 4, just kind of like hidden in corners. Like
on the roof of a ruin or something like that.
They're a little obscure, but they are just like a collectible that are out in the open. And you use these purple coins to go fishing and play the fishing minigame.
Big the Cat!
Big the Cat is back.
Yeah!
And he's all out of bubblegum. Did you know, fun fact, that Big the Cat's original voice actor is the same voice actor as Duke Nukem?
No way.
Fun fact.
That is fun.
Hence that joke.
Uh-huh.
No longer. Different guy now.
Okay.
But...
Once upon a time?
Yeah. Bonus info. But yeah, so one of the portals that leads you to the levels in this game, there's one portal per island that teleports you to Big the Cat's cyberspace.
Do you want to know what's crazy?
No, maybe.
I think there's more than one portal on at least the last island.
More than one fishing portal?
I think so.
Really?
I might be. Maybe I'm wrong, but I
clocked it as one per island.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
You could be, but I by the time I got to the last island, I was far from unlocking everything. Like I was past the point of like, okay, I am tired of playing this game.
There's 2 fish. One
Really?
fish, 2 fish.
Okay, so Braden's right. There's 2 fishing spots on the last map. However, doesn't matter because there's portals that lead to the Big the Cat fishing spots, and you get to play a fishing minigame.
Yeah. One of the worst fishing minigames I've ever played.
Oh man, it's so weird to see so many people praising the fishing minigame as the best part of this game. Have you seen a lot of that?
I mean, so
I've seen a lot of that.
Okay, I'm not okay. I'll give them this: the fish that you fish up,
super cool,
are fun. You know what I mean?
They're like
my little collectathon brain.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. It's fun to fill out that
and
encyclopedia
and that collectathon,
Pokedex.
That little mini collectathon is so much more satisfying than any of the collectibles in the rest of the game. You know, it's just like yet another influence. Animal Crossing. You know, it's just like catching fish in that.
So true.
Because so this fishing minigame, you spend your purple coins, you give Big the Cat a certain number of purple coins that you've collected in the overworld to play the fishing minigame. There's not much there's like a little bit, you have to press a couple buttons to play the fishing minigame.
Yeah.
You can fail it.
Yes.
But there's very little to it.
Calling it like a real-time event isn't really like...
You mean like a QuickTime event?
Yeah, I'm sorry. QuickTime event.
QTE?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't...
It is. You can fail. You can miss it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, you line up a ring in another ring.
Right.
In a larger ring.
It's not... There's not a ton of skill to it. It's barely enough to, like, keep your eyes on the screen, you know, just for an extra second.
Yeah.
But you do the fishing minigame, and you catch a whole bunch of different kinds of fish, like real life fish.
Yeah.
Like some Animal Crossing staples.
Yeah.
Like the coelacanth and like squids and frogs and you know, deep sea fish.
Fun stuff.
You also catch some random objects like a tire and like
Sonic springs.
Yeah, like vintage like Sonic items like like a spring
the
and
goalposts.
The goalposts, some badniks. You also catch the treasure chests.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught this, but to me it felt like the order that you catch all the fish in was predetermined.
I thought so too.
Because you're catching new fish pretty often.
Every time. Almost.
Until
you've caught everything.
Until it starts repeating. You can catch treasure chests, and those have tickets in them when they're collectible. You also get the map, the scrolls.
Yes.
You can...
So the most significant thing that you get from fishing are you'll fish up these scrolls, essentially. And as we mentioned, there's an Elder Coco and
Hermit Coco.
Is it Hermit?
It is.
Hermit Coco.
Yes.
And you will fish up one of or both of these scrolls, and then you unlock some fast travel options. Because they are scattered... They have multiple like checkpoints on the map, multiple waypoints. Both of the Cocos.
They're in such nonsense locations, though.
Yeah, not...
It's so weird and random.
Yes. But once you fish up their scrolls, you can transport to their locations.
It is also
on that island.
That respective island. It is also worth noting, once you complete every overworld challenge on an island, once you have unlocked the entire map of any island...
Yes.
100% unlocked it, you can fast travel to any of those overworld challenges.
No, you can...
Right? To any portals.
To the cyberspace portals, yes.
Yeah, okay. Which... Why?
I know, right? Why not the map points?
Why? It's... I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you for a moment. Okay. I'm going to say the most important part of the fishing minigame is not that you can get those fast travel points. I am going to say that the most important part of the fishing minigame is that each fish that you catch, each item that you catch, is worth a certain amount of fishing coins.
Coins? Are those tokens too?
I don't know. You get oh my god. You spend a certain amount of purple coins to fish.
Yes.
And when you fish up a fish, and each fish is worth a different amount of fishing coins. And you spend your fishing coins at Big the Cat to
slow down to emphasize this.
To unlock everything.
Anything.
Big the Cat is a shop in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he has his own little shop, and you can spend your fishing coins to purchase portal gears to unlock the levels instead of fighting the bosses.
Yep.
Emerald keys so that you can
go straight to the Chaos Emeralds and unlock them.
You can buy a whole bunch of unlimited emerald keys so that you don't even have to play the portal levels, even if you don't get the portal gear to unlock them.
Right.
You can buy memory tokens, which are those character-specific items they use to have the character conversations, so that you don't have to do the overworld obstacle courses.
Yep.
You can buy the red and blue seeds, so that you don't have to
fight any of the enemies,
do any
of the map work,
or do any of the map challenges. Mm-hmm. You can essentially all these nonsense collectibles that we've been talking about and bemoaning. You can play this Big the Cat fishing minigame all you want, as long as you have purple coins, and just bypass it all.
All of it.
All of it. You don't, for the last island, truly, I barely completed any of it. Mm-hmm. I had hundreds of purple coins.
Oh, same.
Because of the Starfall thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that. That's another it being Breath of the Wild, because it's just
God.
like the blood moon.
Yeah.
Really?
That weird roulette thing? What even was that?
Obnoxious.
It made no sense.
I don't want to talk about that. It's already confusing enough to explain.
Yeah.
I'm already trying to bring it. already trying to bring it home here.
Basically, if you beat all the enemies on the map, they got to come back somehow, right?
Right.
And
because Breath of the Wild did that.
Yeah, and so there's a comet, a meteor shower and little pieces of meteor fall to the earth, and you collect them, and you get lots and lots of purple coins.
Yes. In the same way that Breath of the Wild has its blood moon once every few in-game days to revive all the enemies on the map, Sonic does that too. It's a meteor shower thing, and it revives all the enemies that you've killed. All the field bosses come back to life that you've killed. But it also does this one-time event thing that makes stars fall, and you collect the stars. You collect the stars to start a roulette, and then the roulette gives you purple coins.
Yeah.
Man.
But I don't understand. How many... Because the roulette only lasts... it'll only spin through
the game
5
has a
times,
day-night cycle.
And then you collect 500 of those little comet shards. But the roulette keeps spinning even if you only get 5.
What do you mean?
Comet shards. I don't understand what the comet shards have anything to do with that roulette that then gives you coins.
You collect You can't...
Because you can
It's
collect
such an inane
so
part of the
many
game,
more.
It's not even worth explaining.
I know.
But
I might even delete this. Like, this is...
Sure, you collect the comet shards to start the roulette. And the roulette will not continue if you don't have any more comet shards. But the comet shards are everywhere.
Yeah.
I
think that's what's so... Like, there's so many.
Yeah, it's not a challenge.
It doesn't feel like you're actually dispensing one
it's
to
supposed
restart the roulette.
Right. Yeah, it's supposed to be like this... It feels like it's supposed to be like this rare event that, like, happens once per island. And... is like a one bonus chance opportunity to just score purple coins.
Yeah.
But those fallen star shard things that you collect because you need to collect more shit. They're everywhere.
Yeah, anyway.
They're hard to find. They're easy to find. Ridiculously easy to grab, and so the roulette keeps on spinning and you keep getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of purple coins, and you spend those purple coins to go fishing at Big the Cat, and you get fishing coins, spend them at Big the Cat, buy all the portal gears, all the emerald keys, and all the memory tokens, so that you don't have to play the game because you've gotten tired of it by the 5th island. Is what happened to me.
The end. Not really.
Not really. There's the story.
Did we get around, we hit all those main points pretty decently, I think. That is the flow of the game.
Right.
That is what makes up the gameplay of the game, is collecting each and every one of these items in some sort of order so that you can eventually unlock the Chaos Emeralds and fight the boss at the end of the island.
Yeah, that's the structure. And then once, for anyone that has ever played a Sonic game, they know that once you collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, Sonic's going to turn into Super Sonic.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
For at least a little bit. Which is cool. Which is one cool thematic thing, in my opinion, was that at the end of each of these islands, you turn into Super Sonic and you fight the islands like...
Titan,
yeah. They're called Titans in this. They couldn't call them Colossi for obvious reasons. But there's essentially, like a Colossus Guardian that serves as the boss for each of these islands, and you turn into Super Sonic to fight it, and there are these huge spectacle battles.
Yeah.
And in a lot of these takes I've seen about this game, people begrudge the boss fights a lot.
Yeah.
The Super Sonic fights. I'm a sucker for them.
I think it was... So, it was absolutely, the most exciting part. It had the most hype behind it.
It felt like a treat. It did.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
You're flying. You're in the air for each of these, and...
Super Sonic controls... Instead of being in the open world, you're kind of usually in an enclosed arena with this huge giant enemy.
Yeah, super giant.
And you're playing as Super Sonic, so you are flying around.
And it's interesting, your combos are retained, and so basically, whatever moves you've unlocked, you get to use them as Super Sonic, and they're a little bit flashier and cooler.
Yeah,
and
powered up and stuff.
Yeah, and there's some badass, hardcore music, essentially, hard rock metal, with my boy Kellen Quinn.
Yeah.
Crazy that they got him to sing 4 different songs?
At
3?
least.
Because he's singing. It's, they are lyrical, vocalized songs, which Sonic does well.
Yeah, Sonic is
typically.
The Sonic as a series is no stranger to having, vocal contemporary rock songs as their main themes. That's kind of a Sonic convention dating back to Sonic Adventure.
Yeah,
for us, Live and Learn,
and
Sonic Heroes and the Shadow Hedgehog one. That is something that has continued through the Sonic games since those. Is Sonic going supersonic and fighting something in space at the end?
Yeah.
And then some rock song by Crush.
Rock anthem.
Yeah. Which is what makes the supersonic fight such a treat in this one, because each boss fight has its own original song.
Yes.
And it's from, we've loved Sleeping with Sirens for a long time.
Yeah.
we're kind of pop punk heads historically.
Yeah.
A little bit. Shamefully or shamelessly, you
Right,
decide.
yeah, I don't know.
But it was after the fact that I fought the first boss, and I was like, that song kind of went hard. And then you told me it was Kellen Quinn from Sleeping Sirens. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
So yes,
there's a lot of spectacle to the Supersonic.
They feel epic.
They do. Those are some of the few moments that all of this trouble that the game gives us, all this homework that it felt like, really felt worth it.
They are just as
Felt rewarded.
Oh, yes. They are just as janky and kind of mechanically fragile as the rest of the game, you know? And like, it's interesting, you don't really have health. You have all your rings, and they're counting down second by second, and so like you can get more rings usually, but you have to beat the boss within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's a timed mission. You're invincible, and you can't die necessarily, but you have to do it within a certain amount of time. Your amount of rings as they count down. Yeah, I feel like the last core facet of the game to discuss is like the story.
Yeah.
And I mean, for better or for worse, I feel like looking back, most of my actual enjoyment of the game came from the story and certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't think the story was very good.
Yeah. No,
but it just kind of comes back to my core, unshakable, biased love for Sonic as a franchise, because what this game has done, it's cleverly written sometimes, you know.
It sure, yeah, I would 100% agree. The characterization is some of my favorite that I've ever seen from these characters.
Right,
they feel much less cheesy than they ever have, in my opinion.
Sometimes. I will say some scenes made me cringe. Some lines made me cringe.
Yeah.
Some of the writing is like a little trying too hard to be comedic or kiddie or something. But sometimes in the past when, Sonic games, I don't know, for whatever it means that the quality of the dialogue, but they're always talking about whatever the present circumstances, like Infinite is attacking, whatever, I don't know, whatever, like Sonic Colors is about the wisps, and they're talking about whatever.
Yeah.
In this game, they are pretty contemplative with, Sonic and his relationship with his friends kind of get, a sort of character development workout.
Yeah.
Sonic and Tails have a slightly different relationship at the end of this game than at the beginning.
Yeah.
And past events from past Sonic games are referred to, which is
really neat
and fan servicey, which I appreciated, but also felt appropriate. In particular, Tails is having a crisis. He is feeling bad that Sonic is always saving him.
Having to pick up his slack.
Yeah, and Tails is beating himself up over it, and Sonic is literally like, yo, do you want to talk? Is everything okay? And Tails is like, no, it's fine. And then a few missions later, you talk to him again, and they actually kind of have a heart to heart, and Tails is like, I'm gonna be different in the next Sonic game. He's like, I'm gonna grow up to be better. I'm not gonna rely on you as much anymore. And he has a grow up moment, and it was really endearing.
Yeah. And it was sweet of Sonic. He was like, you're as fast as me.
Yeah.
You have the brains of Eggman. And I can't remember, it might have been a different cutscene, but he was like, you can fly with your butt. Or something like that, you know? And I don't know. It was funny and cheesy, but for all of the mess that it felt fairly self-aware. You know what I mean?
For the most part. Until they started talking about the Coco. And the actual story.
Yeah.
That's everything else.
In my defense, I did say characterization is some of my favorite.
Yes.
The story is pretty nonsensical.
And retroactively, credit where it's due. This is something I've expressed to you off mic.
Mm-hmm.
All that retro that like ancient future technology and like the ripoff of the Sheikah from Breath of the Wild, that whole thing, I am relatively impressed with how they made it fit into the Sonic world. Because
They brought Mass Effect and the Reapers to the Sonic world.
No, they brought back Chaos, remember?
Yeah.
What? I thought...
What'd they say? They like spliced Chaos DNA into...
No, it kind of made... The
yeah, what was
it? The
it?
Chaos Emeralds came from space. The Chaos Emeralds.
That's right.
Even the Titans and stuff were kind of in there too. Like everything was sort of tied together. The Chaos Emeralds were used as like, oh man, it is really confusing, but it is also like...
See, my problem with that is like, yes, I remember having that revelation that yes, the Chaos Emeralds came from space. But does that not retcon like all the games that they were referencing? You know, the bad guys that they fought and stuff.
No. I don't think so. I think this was... Go on.
Well, even Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2.
They've already retconned that. The moon was in this game. They blow up the moon in Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay, that's fair.
The canon... It was cute and nice of them to acknowledge the events of previous Sonic games, but it does not make sense.
Yeah.
You know, in Sonic Unleashed, there are real world countries. Like you go to like Italy, like, and it's called Italy,
right?
And then in the same canon that there's like Station Square, you know, and Soliana, and you know whatever planet.
Lives.
Angel Island. They talk about Angel Island a lot in this one.
Yeah.
That's for sure in the canon now. Yeah, the Chaos Emeralds, they came from space. This ancient alien race that looked like Chaos, right?
Yep.
From Sonic Adventure, which was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Chaos was a monster born from the Chaos Emeralds. You know, tying it all together. Ancient alien civilization that like crash landed on Earth and brought us to the Chaos Earth. I don't know. Whatever, the Sonic planet,
yeah,
and left in the Chaos Emeralds, and this is the Starfall Islands are where it happened. How does that play in with the main villain and like the main enemies? Tough to work out.
Yeah.
Why did they have to make the Coco and the Korok ripoffs part of it? Still tough to figure out.
I don't know, it was weird seeing the Coco inside of the Ancients, you know what I mean? Like, as if those were the true soul and, like, you know, some kind of, like, weird protective technology armor almost that they were wearing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It did echo the Chaos a little bit, though. Because Chaos had the Chaos Emeralds inside him.
Yeah.
It was a visual parallel, which I appreciated. Story-wise, shaky. I don't know. I stopped paying attention to that the core story stuff kind of like a ways in when I realized it stopped making sense. But I did appreciate that all the ancient future technology had some bearing on the Sonicness of the story. Yeah. It wasn't just like, because that's happened in Sonic games previous too, is like, you know, Sonic 06 is canon now. But like, Iblis doesn't, I don't know, you know, all the villains and everything that was incorporated into that story doesn't have any bearing on any Sonic game, past or present. Right. This one actually kind of like reaches over and explains some things, or connects things. Doesn't really explain anything, but it connects to the Sonic canon.
Right.
As valuable as the Sonic canon is, not, you know. I appreciate
the comics very seriously for what it's worth.
They do, dude. Have you seen?
Yeah, all the Knuckles drama. Is that what you're like? The Echidna?
No, well, that's
Echidna or whatever.
That's a whole.
Yeah,
completely different thing.
Okay.
But that Ian Flynn, who is a writer for the comics and also helped write the script for this game, has confirmed that they're going to try to like really tie it all together.
I asked you about that the other night. Do you have like real confirmation on that? Because I saw like some weird post about it at some point.
Yeah.
But okay,
like it's
great.
Yeah, the
buckle up.
pretty much. The IDW comics, as they're known, the most current iteration of the Sonic comics are they're going to tie that in with like the world of the games in, I guess, in some meaningful way that will like finally bring some sort of narrative cohesion.
Sally to the games?
No. No, don't go that far.
Come on.
But just, I don't know, some sort of cohesion to it all, you know. It's all pretty messy and disconnected. But we'll see.
They introduced a new character in this game.
Sage.
Do you think she's going to stick around?
Yes.
For how long and in what capacity?
Too much. I think she's going to be Sonic's new Rosalina.
No.
Yeah.
Even in games that aren't Frontiers?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Like, you think, okay, like, that's just
I think she's a new...
atrocious, you think she's a new what?
I think she's a new, like, Sonic character. And she's going to be around for a long time.
But I mean, like, so if they make Sonic Colors too, you know what I mean? Like, like, would they shoehorn her in?
Maybe. That's a hard scenario to imagine.
You know what I mean? I'm just trying to think of
reasons.
like how integral you think this character is. She's very endearing. She's the kind of little girl looking character that you see in some of the trailers, and she antagonizes Sonic throughout the islands.
She's a new character to this game, and as far as I think we can understand, she is an AI created by Dr. Eggman. That's kind of what we got.
I don't think we ever, at least I never settled in my mind whether she existed before Eggman accessed cyberspace or if she was a result of him accessing cyberspace.
Okay. Me neither.
You know what I mean? Because she references like the ancients, and I think you pointed out, like, you know, she seems to have a full knowledge of how the ancients lived and operated.
But they also said Tails was trying to explain something about how like all the ancients' memories were in cyberspace.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And
they would like upload
Sage,
their crap at the cyberspace terminals or whatever.
At the portals.
Yeah.
And Sage was an AI in cyberspace.
Yeah.
That could access all of it. She is on Eggman's side through the game. Mm-hmm. She is antagonizing Sonic in a way that doesn't really make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Trying to discourage him from completing his goal of saving his friends and, getting off the islands. And then, I don't know, I guess spoiler territory if we're talking about what happens near the end of the game.
Yeah. Let's hit it.
Spoilers for the plot, sort of. Sonic and Eggman sort of join forces.
I feel like Sage convinces Eggman that it's in his best interest to team up with Sonic.
Sage is against Sonic. She's on Eggman's side through the game, but she sees what Sonic is doing to like try to save his friends and like how selfless he is, and is like, maybe he's not the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then Sage encourages.
Then she turns blue instead of black and red.
Turning blue to symbolize it.
So beautiful.
It's a metaphor for Ikaruga.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so Eggman and Sonic join forces against the ultimate enemy, which is some other alien force that wiped out the ancient versions of the Coco. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's yeah. And then real endgame spoilers.
Yeah.
Sage dies. Sage sacrifices herself. Eggman is like, that was my daughter. I created her. And she's like, I love you, Father. And then she dies, even though she is an AI. Mm-hmm. And then in the post-credits scene, Eggman is typing at his computer and hits enter. And the computer says, Father? And then it's like cut to black. Mm-hmm. And then she sings a song about being Eggman's daughter in the credits. Do you remember that?
I don't think I had my volume. No.
Oh man, dude, that shit is insane.
What is, like, can you
It's the
Elaborate.
word. It would make me uncomfortable to sing it, but the lyrics, like in during the credits of the game, after you complete the final boss, after Sage sacrifices herself and dies, a la Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2,
sure,
she sings a song in the credits, kind of like Gladys and like Portal.
Yeah, that's what I'm evoking right now.
It evokes that very much, except it's like, I loved you, Father. I am your daughter.
Like that literal.
It's like super literal.
That on the nose.
Like,
is it intended to be like a children's like little nursery rhyme that she wrote? Like, is it cute like that, or is it like she's singing like some?
It's definitely
like produced in a studio backing track that
it's caught between both. It's not nursery. It's not overly nursery rhyme-esque. It feels like a pop ballad.
Yeah,
but it is
a la Gladys.
A la Gladys. Yeah, kind of. And it's clearly Sage's voice actress. Because it's and acting as Sage, because it's not like a pop singer singing it.
Right.
It's like Little Girl is singing
it,
but
it's
presented as a pop ballad. It's a little mind bending.
Weird.
It's very strange. It made me feel very weird. It kind of like, however sweet and sour I was feeling about the story and the presentation and the theming about everything up to that point, it just kind of like turned it all sideways a little bit more. And then she came back to life in the post-credits scene.
Right.
And I was like, okay, they really want me to care about Sage. She is... Okay. And then we can deviate from here. She's definitely probably maybe coming back.
Okay.
But also... Breaking news!
Bum, bum, bum!
Sonic Frontiers is getting DLC!
Wow!
They just announced that yesterday as of this recording.
And I was super pissed about it until Connor told me it was free.
Yes, they are releasing free DLC updates into spring of 2023 for this game, right?
I think that's what it said. It was like starting, I thought.
Starting in 2023?
I thought so, yeah.
This game has had such an interesting conversation surrounding it for so long, because part of what I've seen in some people's reviews where it talks about a sequel and what can be improved in a sequel. It's like they gave credit where it's due, because it's like it's close to being improved by a sequel. But I don't think we're getting a Sonic Frontiers 2. I think as of a very recent learning, whatever improvements come to this game will come in this free DLC, which is going to include new challenges.
So at the top it has 2023 content roadmap. Okay. And so I imagine it'll release throughout 2023 with like, I don't know. I don't foresee that being anytime soon.
Sure. It
says new story content and playable characters.
Yeah. The first wave of new updates are new challenges and a photo mode, and then it's like new challenges and races for the second wave, and then the final wave of DLC, of free DLC, is new playable characters and a new story. And it shows Knuckles, Tails, and Amy, and Sage.
Yeah.
So maybe they bring Sage back around, maybe Sage stays in Sonic Frontiers, maybe the game will perform better in the future. It might be one of these Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky kind of things where the game looks completely different and better somehow 2 years from now.
That's an interesting point.
I'm probably being entirely overtly optimistic.
Is it?
Considering Sonic Team's track record recently.
I think I've asked you this in recent times, but has Shadow been seen in a Sonic game since what?
Forces. He was in the most recent one.
That's right.
He is mysteriously absent from this game, from Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
In my opinion, do
you know what capacity? Okay, besides Forces, which I think the point of that game is it drags in every character Sonic's ever met. But like, what about between Shadow the Hedgehog the game and Forces?
He was a main character. He was one of the 3 playable characters in Sonic 06. He's in Sonic Generations.
Okay, so he is still considered...
what is your main? What are you really asking here? What is Shadow now?
What is he to the series, and what's the likelihood that he's the playable character to any? You know what I mean?
In Frontiers?
Yeah.
I would say 0.
Okay.
Because in this release photo for when they announced this DLC, it shows Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and Sage.
I don't want to play as any of them.
I want to play as Knuckles. You kidding me? I want to fly around.
I guess.
I just hope that they're like actually you can play as them in the overworld.
Right. Yes.
I hope they're not just like
weird little.
Yeah, one little linear level you get to play as Tails, and it's boring or short.
Sure.
You know, I hope it actually means something meaningful. Which, if they're really releasing this stuff well into 2023, they've got time to develop it. I don't know. Sure. I guess, kind of.
I don't know.
Game's janky enough.
Yeah, it felt in my brain, Shadow is very important, and
you totally grew up on Sonic Adventure 2, didn't you?
Yeah, I sure did. And you know, like you said, I don't think they mentioned him, at all. And so to hold back so hard on such a what I think many people think is like one of the coolest Sonic characters.
He's definitely a fan favorite.
Yeah.
By like a wide margin.
It just seems like, they're holding out on us, they're gonna dump him in.
They could.
And I don't have enough faith in... Is this made by Sonic Team?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't... Like, to make the game playable as Knuckles or fly around as Tails, but they can reskin Sonic and have us play as Shadow.
I guess.
Like, that easy. Boom. That's about how much faith I have in... And maybe I'm I don't know, being cynical, but...
I have enough faith that all the other characters are going to be is... You know how Sonic has the drop dash? You double jump and then you activate the spin dash?
Uh-huh.
I think all the other characters are going to be the same as Sonic, except Knuckles, his double jump thing is going to be glide, and Tails' is going to be fly.
Mm-hmm. What's Amy's?
I don't know, hammer, something. I don't know. Maybe she has better combat. Who cares?
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to be able to play as Sage? You think that's one of them? Who cares?
Kind of. Part of the reason I was so pissed when Connor told me about the DLC, and like, it's part of just the problem I have with post-release, wave release DLC. Roadmap, yes. It's just like, I do get annoyed that they don't release it as a full package. Release it with the game and just call it the game. But considering it's free, I just feel like I'm a little more on board. Not that it's very likely I'll pick it back up. TBH.
I'm, again, morbidly curious enough, like I was before the game came out, just to see how this stuff is implemented in it. And considering how the post game works, how you can just kind of like drop back in and like explore the islands still. Hopefully it will be something that you can kind of drop in and out of and not have to like start a new game for.
Right.
To play this new content.
Sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I think because the updates are free, it really feels. I don't know. It's hard to pin down from like even a business strategy. Like it's almost altruistic that they're free updates. It's not asking you to pay for DLC. It's just buy the game and you'll get this content. Like, what advantage do they have? I mean, do you think the game was rushed?
Oh, it feels...
Big time?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it.
This is a safe environment to say this game feels rushed. It's remarkable how functional it is in some ways.
Yeah.
It is devastating how non-functional it is
It's barely
in other ways.
clinging on at some portions.
At some points. But it does have like a consistent through line in a lot of its design. And all the stuff that is relegated to these free DLC waves does feel pretty tertiary. supplementary.
Yes,
a photo mode and like extra challenges.
Right.
You know, besides the extra
New Coco or something.
New Coco to find or whatever. You know, I'm sure that they like carved this supplementary stuff out of the game with the knowledge that like we've got less than 2 years to make this game work. Let's carve out this supplementary stuff and put it in later. Yeah. You know, they've got to be developing it right now.
Sure, yeah.
You know? Just interesting.
Fair. The first text you sent me when you started the game was something along the lines of, this is the bonkiest shit I've ever played.
Yes.
And bonky is the word that I have said to all my friends, all
really?
my coworkers, because it just feels the most appropriate. And I think it also implies just a hint of fun. It's a fun enough word. It's a silly enough word that it really seals the deal on what Sonic Frontiers is. Because
I'm pumping my fist right now.
Freaking bonky.
It's bonky as guts, dude. It's bonky as butts. Because you're right. It is orbiting the concept of fun, so closely that you are mistaken. So many
potential ways.
Yeah, in so closely and in so potentially that you're like, oh man, am I having fun?
Right. Yeah.
But then you're like, oh no, this game is just busted. This game is bussin'. That is how I meant that when I sent that text, but then I abandoned it because I was like, I don't know, it's not that bad. But I'm glad it resonated with you so much because it truly, this is a bonky game. This game is bonky as hell, and it's hard. If you don't get it, you don't get it. When I posted that Instagram story about hating the game, I had to like backpedal for a bunch of people and be like I had a couple friends respond and they were like, what's wrong with it? Or somebody that I told I liked it already was like, oh, you changed your mind? Like, and I don't know. This is, there were many times playing this game that I did not want to continue. And I was not having fun.
Mostly on the third island, I bet.
Mostly on the third island. Yes, I would bet too. And then, conveniently, on said third island, I would be like, okay, one more Chaos Emerald. Fine. Whatever. And then, I would get the cutscene where Tails and Sonic are having the heart-to-heart, and I'm like, oh man, I like Sonic a lot, actually. You know? It's a horribly uneven heap of a game. No original thoughts. That's not always a bad thing. It's most of the time a bad thing. Yes. Because anything that it's taking, any concept, any idea that it's taking from another game, it is not executing as well, for better or for worse. Yeah. I don't know, man. I love Sonic, and I am glad that I'm glad that I stuck with Sonic. I love Sonic, and I'm glad that I stuck with Sonic Frontiers to the end of it. I did not enjoy my whole experience, and I cannot recommend it to everyone, and I have no idea who I can recommend it to. Yeah. No one for $60. For $40, maybe you might enjoy it.
Maybe.
What say you?
I mean, it's going to be cheaper soon. You know, give it till the spring, it'll be $30. Yeah. Give it till the summer, it'll be $20.
Yeah, they will probably decrease the price as these updates come out too.
Yeah, like
I felt like a sucker buying this for $60.
Yeah,
I really did.
And so yeah, I don't know who to recommend it to either. I mean, I don't personally know that many Sonic the Hedgehog fans anyway, and even if I did, they probably would be playing the game. Right. And so like, I don't know. One of my friends who like plays just Call of Duty, you know, first person shooter type stuff, if they were to come up to me and be like, hey, what open world action game is fun, I would not say Sonic Frontiers.
It's like
first.
Me neither. It's like, I don't know, do you want a good open world game? Sonic Frontiers is not my first my
Right.
first recommendation. Do you want a good Sonic game? Sonic Frontiers is probably still not my first recommendation.
So true.
I would say if you really want to get into Sonic, maybe Sonic Mania or Sonic Origins. If you really want to do 3D Sonic, I don't know. Maybe Sonic Forces is better. Tough to say. It's tough to say.
Yeah. But it sure is interesting. And
it's very interesting.
If our 2-hour conversation into the nitty-gritty of how bonky this game is, has piqued your interest for $40, I bet you will have fun. If you know what I mean?
Sure. And if you start at it, if you're coming at it from zero, if you're not a Sonic fan, and this is like your first real taste of Sonic, you might love it.
That's so true.
I think part of the reason that I didn't enjoy it since it running around as Sonic in this game in the big open world is because I already had an idea of what Sonic is supposed to feel like, and it didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
I can acknowledge that bias and that it
very interesting
is like, I love Sonic, but I have a bias towards a particular kind of Sonic, and Sonic has changed and will continue to change for generations to come. And Sonic, and even if this game sold 100 copies, Sonic would never go away.
Right.
Sonic will always keep coming back and reviving itself in some capacity.
Yeah.
Probably
trying something new.
Probably trying something new. It's tough to recommend this as somebody's first Sonic game, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's almost enough enjoyable about it that it could be worth it for the right price.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Ugh.
Bonky Sonic game, dude. But what Sonic game hasn't been bonky? Oh, I love Sonic. And I love Crush 40.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Kalen Quinn. And I think I love Yuji Naka. I hope he's okay, doing okay in his prison cell. I love Roger Craig Smith. Roger Craig Smith is the voice actor for Sonic in this game and has been in the games for like the past decade or so.
Yeah.
And I think he does a fine job. He gets a lot of hate because Sonic's voice actor has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he does just fine in this game.
I do too.
Props to Roger Craig Smith. I think you're A-okay.
You got the NintenGems stamp of approval, baby.
Yes, sir. Come on the show. We'd love to talk to you.
Hell yeah. Only if you do it in the Sonic voice.
I don't think it'd be too hard. It's no Chris Pratt's Mario. You know what I'm saying? What else you got to say about this stupid game?
Yeah, there is a significant lack of Chow Garden. There's no Cocoa Garden either, which is pretty dumb.
Yeah.
There should be
thank God. I hate the Cocoa. I'll kill the Cocoa.
They should be something more, but
not Koroks. They could have been Chow.
Yeah.
Why not? Or something. I don't know. I guess just a rapid round. Before we totally close this out, I took a couple more notes during gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
The first note I took, definitely within the first 10 minutes of starting, was there are so many different collectibles that do different things that you have to take, so many different locations to activate. That was in all caps. I liked that when you reach your maximum amount of rings, you get a speed boost. I thought that was cool.
Ooh,
that felt good.
Yeah, very good.
I thought the sumo boss was really sick. Second Island.
Oh, where you bounce around the rings.
The walls. Doing tricks for skill pieces was a good idea. It's just a shame that the tricks didn't make any sense and were implemented as a glitch, basically. I liked that one of the enemies steals your Chaos Emeralds. Did you see that? You get that guy? There's an enemy that steals your Chaos Emerald and like runs away, and you have to like catch after him.
Cool.
That was kind of fun.
I missed that guy.
And props, however much they're due, to Sega or Sonic Team for not implementing crafting into this game. This is an open world game with no crafting. You got your skill tree, you got your unveiling the map, you almost got your towers and stuff, you got your open world conventions, but there's no crafting, which is really interesting. And there's no live service thing to like pay real money for any of these nefarious collectibles.
Yeah.
It's all within the game.
Just fish your soul away with big.
Yeah. Even Elden Ring had crafting and that you never use and is useless.
Yeah.
And feels tacked on in a way. But this game circumvented that. It just had other things that felt tacked on.
Yeah. Huh.
I don't know. That's my short list of other transient thoughts I have about this game, but I think otherwise we've properly exhausted all the others.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Anything else you need to say about Sonny Fronty?
I guess we'll see you when the new chapter starts.
Yeah, maybe
the new story mode.
I guess so.
If it's like a new story, like
that's what the blurb claims.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Cool. Yeah, maybe we'll tack it on to a future episode. Maybe we'll return to the Sonic front, the front of Sonic Frontiers.
Yes.
Sonic Front Lines. Well, if that's all we got to say about Sonic Frontiers, then I guess I'll go ahead and close us out. Thank you very much for listening to us ramble about Sonic for 2 hours. We appreciate you listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on whatever platform you're on, Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if that's your thing.
Heck yeah.
Leave us a review. Follow us on Instagram at NintenGems Podcast. That's at NintenGems underscore podcast. Follow us on Instagram at NintenGems _podcast. Catch some updates there and some funny memes that Brayden puts on the story sometimes, which is cool. With all that, we will see you next time. My name is Connor.
And I am Brayden.
And we love you very much.
We sure do. This has been NintenGems.
Thanks for watching.
Pow.
Love you.